Hey, what's up? It's Josiah Novak, and today I'm back again with a brand new video on how many calories should you eat for fat loss. We're going to talk about exactly the amount needed and required to shred, melt body fat, lose weight, and I'm going to teach you how to set up your calories for success in today's video. Before we jump into today's video, I want you to leave a comment below. Do you like the new background? Do you like the books in the back, or do you prefer the blue background? Let me know in the comments which one you prefer, because I'm just testing it out. I want to see what you guys like, what you think, and maybe I'll start picking out a few books to share with you that I think might help you in your journey in life and in all the areas that you care about. So without further ado, let's jump into how many calories should you eat for fat loss. All right, so how many calories should you eat to lose fat? That's the question that we're talking about in today's video. And I first want to address calories. Like, what are they? What exactly are calories? What do they do and how do they work? Well, first of all, a calorie is literally just a unit of measurement. It's like an inch or a centimeter or a yard or a foot, right? It's just a way to measure how much energy is in the food you eat, okay? So think about calories as an inch. An inch is always an inch, no matter where you are, right? An inch on a book, inch outside, a mile, right, is always a mile. Sometimes it might take a longer period of time to travel a mile because of traffic or the method of transportation, but the length of a mile always stays the same. So with calories, I know there's this whole argument that not all calories are created equal, and that's kind of misleading because a calorie is always a calorie. It's just where the calorie comes from that's different, right? So sometimes you get a calorie from protein, from carbs, from fats. And so yes, those nutrients will do different things in the body, but calories are just the way we measure energy, and it's always the same. So just keep that in mind as we move forward. Don't get confused. A calorie is simply how we're going to measure the energy in foods. So in order to lose body fat, technically the best way is to create a calorie deficit. And all that means is that you burn more energy in the form of calories than you eat. That's it, right? You just burn more fuel than you take in via food. That's how you set up an environment inside the body to lose fat. So when we're talking about how many calories are required to lose fat, well, it's going to be different from person to person, and we're going to talk about that today. But the most important thing to understand is that the most optimal way to lose fat is to be in a calorie deficit. Sure, there are cases where people eat more around like a maintenance level of calories, right? So the amount you burn equal to the amount you take in, where they do lose fat because they're building muscle and their metabolism starts to speed up slightly. But that's going to be a very long and tedious process if you want to go that route. That's going to take an extremely long period of time for most people. So the fastest way to lose fat and the most optimal way is to simply burn more calories than you eat. That's going to be your best tried and true method when it comes to losing fat. So how many calories should you eat to lose fat? Well, let's start from where you are now. If you've never tracked how many calories you eat every day, that's going to be an experience in and of itself. It's a good exercise to put in place. It's not a hard exercise to start tracking calories, but it will have a slight learning curve if this is your first time. If you're busy and you have family stuff going on and a career, business that you're running, and your schedule's jam-packed, it might seem, at least the thought of tracking calories, it might seem tedious, right? But I want to just give you peace of mind that it's really not that hard. I run a very big business. I have family. I have 2 kids, a lot going on. I travel with my wife. Like, there's things we do every day that require my time. And tracking calories takes no more than a couple minutes a day. So once you get that under your belt, you'll be off to the races. But if you've never tracked calories before, a good place to start is simply tracking your calories for a few days or even a week, just to see where you are. Being honest about your eating habits. Everything you eat that has calories or drink that has calories should be tracked. That way you get a baseline. Okay, you know, this is where I typically am day to day, and I can start to make adjustments based off these numbers. So let's just say, for argument's sake, you start tracking your calories and you realize that you're around 3,000 calories a day on average for a period of 3 to 5 days. And you notice that your weight stays roughly the same. Maybe there's a slight up or down tick, but overall it's not really moving. That's going to be a good estimate for your maintenance calories. So what you'd want to do is subtract about 15 to 20% from that number. So Where I would start if you tracked for 3 to 5 days and you realized your average is around 3,000 calories is I would simply take around 500 calories away from that number, okay? And you would start a fat loss focus phase around 2,500 calories. And then you would start tracking to hit those calories and see what happens, right? You would see what your weight does, what the body looks like in the mirror every few weeks, how your energy is, how your strength is, and you would make adjustments from there. And then, now, this is where things start to get slightly complicated because you're basically having to act as your own coach. And this is where I help busy entrepreneurs, guys like yourself who are successful, who have a lot going on. I basically take all the guesswork out for you inside of my coaching program, and I help you do everything we just talked about systematically and streamlined so you don't have to think about it. You just follow the plan that I put in place for you, and I make adjustments as we go along to ensure that you're getting lean and also staying lean for the rest of your life. You can learn more about that in the comments and the description of the video below, where I'll post a link to check out the program. But let's keep going. Let me talk about a simple way to set your calories if you don't want to track your calories for 3 to 5 days. If you don't feel like tracking calories and figuring out your maintenance calories, I totally understand. A good place to start is to take your goal body weight. So let's say, for example, right now you weigh 250 pounds and you want to be 200 pounds. Well, what I would suggest is you take 200, multiply it by 10 to 12, so 2,000 to 2,400, and that's the range you really want to live in if you want to lose fat. This is not a perfectly scientifically backed method for setting your calories, but it does work most of the time. I've had clients that I've worked with now for the past decade and a half use this method, and they lose fat and they're not overly hungry. They feel good, energy levels are solid, and they're able to eat what they want and still lose fat. So that's a good place to start. It's, once again, not a perfect method, but it will work if you don't want to track calories for 3 to 5 or even 7 days to get a maintenance level. Now, over time, this calorie number will need to be adjusted because your body is going to adapt. If you're consistent with your calorie intake, your body, especially when losing fat, will adjust the metabolism to account for lower calories. Now, this won't happen overnight, and it most likely won't happen for a good period of time. So it's not something you have to worry about right now. Just start tracking your calories, hitting your calories, eating whole foods, focusing on high protein, and sticking to your nutrition plan for a consistent amount of time. Then once you start to see fat loss really slow down, like it's been multiple weeks, you haven't seen the scale move, the body isn't changing in the mirror, your measurements aren't changing, clothes aren't fitting any different, then you might want to adjust. But I wouldn't make huge adjustments. I would literally move the calories down 5% at a time. I wouldn't go crazy and start doing 10, 20% drops because that's just going to make you miserable. It's going to make you super hungry, irritable, sex drive might go down, clarity at work, all that stuff. You don't want to do that. So I would stick to a moderate deficit, 15 to 20% at most, for as long as possible until you don't see anything moving, no changes being made for multiple weeks at a time. Then make adjustments. Now, I would be shortchanging you if I didn't talk about the fact that we do need to make sure that we're not just worried about calories only, okay? Calories, yes, they are a huge factor and the number one factor really when creating a nutrition plan for fat loss. But you need to make sure that your calories are coming from whole foods most of the time. I suggest at least 80% of the time, eating whole, non-processed food. Now, yes, I know every food can technically be called processed because it does go through a process phase. But what I mean is you want to eat foods that you know what they are, right? Chicken, whole grains, rice, potatoes, fruit, vegetables, the things that you can look at and go, I know what that is. Versus things like Pop-Tarts, where you look at a Pop-Tart, you go, there's 100 different things on the ingredient list, and 90% of them I have no clue what they are, right? Crackers, chips. That stuff isn't going to serve you very well. It's going to decrease your energy more than likely. It's going to make you want to eat more, and it's just going to mess up your overall appetite and homeostasis. So I would shy away from heavily processed foods most of the time. If you want to include it 15, 20% of the time, by all means do so, but try to eat whole foods most of the time. This is where having some recipes that only use whole foods that are delicious really come into play because it can help you stick to your plan and not feel miserable. Right? We eat hamburgers, we eat cheeseburgers, we eat pizza. We do it in a way that allows us to create recipes with mostly whole foods that taste really, really good. And that's something we can teach you about in our coaching program. So check out the coaching program below for more information. All right, that wraps up today's video. I hope it helps. If it did, leave a comment below and make sure you let me know what you think of the background. Do you like the books or should we go back to the blue background? I'm curious to know. We'll probably stick with the books for a couple of videos until I get some feedback from you. Let me know in the comments. That would help out tremendously. If you enjoyed the video and you enjoy the channel, please be sure to subscribe. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think and other videos that you want me to cover, and maybe I'll pick one for a future video. So in the meantime, check out the coaching program below where I help busy, successful entrepreneurs like yourself or top earners in companies lose fat systematically, keep body fat off for life, improve energy, improve confidence, and ultimately look, feel, and perform your best. Whew! Got to take a breath, talking way too much. So I will talk to you on the next video. Have a great day.